like to call the Health Committee meeting to order.
CBA like 15.
Under previous business, can I get a motion to approve the previous meeting minutes? Motion by Gary, second by Sean, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Number 1, local law number S for 2018. Local law to require hospitals to post their policies on reproductive health care, non-discrimination, charity care, and admissions in Albany County. Mr. Clanahan, he is not here tonight. Motion to table? Oh, table, okay. Oh, did you? Okay.
No, he's not here. Table by
Resolution number 494, public hearing on proposed local law number S for 2018. Again, sponsored by Mr. Clanahan. We will table that. Okay, in our current business, excuse me, number 3 through 14 are all 100% OASIS state pass-through funding. Dr. Giordano, what I would like to do is group numbers 3 through 14 if we could. I'll need a motion for that though. Sean, second by
that.
Gary, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we're going to be grouping number 3 through 14. Does anybody have any questions for Dr. Giordano? Gary?
Could you add me to number 10 as a sponsor?
Sure. Any questions for Dr. Giordano? Giordano on numbers 3 through 14?
And number 13, too.
Get a motion to pass number 3 through 14. Motion by Ali, second by Gary. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, same thing for 3 through 14. So 100% state funding, number 15 through 24, for the Office of Mental Health. Can I get a motion to group number 15 through 24?
Make that motion.
Sean, second by Ali. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, do we have any questions for Dr. Giordano on items 15 through 24? Any motion to approve? By Sean, second by Mr. Hogan. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and everybody. Appreciate it.
Okay, resolution number 524, reaffirming the terms of local law L for 2018. This is our revisions to the polystyrene, correct, Mr. Berdorf? Let's find it here.
Oh, am I up? Okay, like everyone to take one of these. Full disclosure, this was on law on Monday night, and we only had 8 people there, and there was a 4-4 vote, so it was held by the committee. And my intention is to go back to the law committee next month, and if they still are uninterested, it would then, I would ask the committee to table it, and it will go out to the floor. But let me explain to you what I am trying to do. As you know, we have a styrofoam law that's going into effect. We passed it in August, but it wasn't filed with the Secretary of State's office until September 27th, and it's effective 6 months later, which is March 27th. What I am concerned about, I mean, there are lots of concerns that people have about the law, and a lot of private sector people, but what I'm trying to address here is we have people who are under current contract with Albany County, and they're not-for-profits. They are Senior Projects of Ravena, who are doing home-delivered meals. They are Peter Young Industries, who are doing home-delivered meals. They are Senior Services of the Albany area, who are doing home-delivered meals. And they have contracts which were, unit prices were set somewhere before 2016. And each year, the unit prices were carried forward when the county re-adopted the contracts. In some instances, everybody has this, right? In some instances, the amount of money is actually increased, but that's not because the unit price increased, it's because the aging department came to us and said, there's more of a need. We have to deliver more meals to seniors that are shut in or in congregate meal programs. Now, so these people have put together their unit pricing, which is $8.95 and $8.73. It was all done before there was a law that said you couldn't use styrofoam. Now, 2 years ago, when we did the original effort where there was the original effort on styrofoam, several of these people were indeed using styrofoam, and they had told us at that time that there was going to be a considerable increase to replace the styrofoam, because obviously they got to replace it with something that gets a temperature-controlled meal to a home, and it's got to maintain certain temperatures, et cetera. So during the Budget Committee meetings, I asked Deputy Commissioner Siegel, is it possible for these people to come forward and say, hey, my packaging costs are going to go from $20,000 to $40,000. Could I have an amendment or an increased price for this new responsibility which has been assigned to me, or the new change in terms to my existing agreement? And it turns out that if you review the contracts, there is actual language in here that says the contract can be renewed, but the unit price cannot change. So the county explicitly prohibited changing the unit price. So what I'm asking people to consider, and I'm glad this is the Health Committee, because this is a health issue. If you're getting $8.95 to send out a meal, and your packaging goes up 25, 30, 40 cents per unit, there's no other place for that money to come out other than food.
Is that $8.95 for both meals? 'Cause they-
No, they're different categories. There are a total of 71,000. There are actually, let's see, for example, senior projects are being, it's 12,000 hot and frozen meals, 983 cold.
It's 2 meals, right?
Well, it could be.
I mean, for one meal, it seems to me it's very expensive. $8.95 for
Well,
a
what's-
meal to be delivered.
But this is, remember, there's car costs, there's fuel costs, there's production costs. This is not, I'm just telling you, this is what the contracts are. I'm not, when I'm,
I'm not debating, I'm just,
you're shocked at what the pieces are.
I'm just
Okay, but
surprised it
let-
costs that much when the rescue mission can put a meal out on Thanksgiving Day for $2.10.
Well, they're using
You know?
styrofoam too, so they're gonna have to change.
I'm just saying,
But-
they can do it for $2.10, and we're getting these guys billing us for $9. There's something wrong.
These
But-
are not for profits that are doing a service to homebound seniors, individually delivered. So what I'm suggesting is, what this law does is it says, okay, if you have real increased costs, if you can prove it, go to the county attorney and say, here's my bill for packaging last year. This is what my bill for packaging is this year. There's a $7,000, $8,000 difference. Would you consider recommending to the county legislature an amendment in my contract? So then, it's like a 3-step thing. If they can prove there's an increase in cost, if they can get the county attorney to say, yes, there is an increase in cost, then it would come to the legislature, and I would assume it would go to Wanda's committee for review. And then the legislature would say, yes, we'll make that adjustment, or no, we won't.
Okay, why was this tabled in law?
Because some people, I don't,
My question, I guess, is, I don't know if we can pass a resolution to just arbitrarily change a local law so soon after we've just pass the local law.
Well, let me tell you what the problem is, okay? And maybe county exec's office can elaborate on this, because a couple of weeks ago, I asked Mr. McLaughlin if he could give us some update on the waiver provisions, because an important component of this law, at least according to the sponsor, Rick told me he was very concerned that there'd be a strong waiver provision, and that waivers, and the language is in there, it says waivers will not be unrealistically withheld, or there's some language that adds emphasis to the fact that we were going to give emphasis to the waiver. Well, when we met with Commissioner Whalen during the budget cycle, I asked her, where are we with the regs? Because there got to be some regs for this thing, because we have language in a law that says containers can be this, can be that, can't be this, can't be that. But for the little merchant who the Costco salesman goes out to, or the Hill and Mark salesman goes out to, they gotta know, not Costco, Cisco, excuse me. Sorry about that. They've got to know what's approved and what's not. So that regulatory structure isn't in place, and there isn't in place a waiver provision yet that not-for-profit folks may want to use, and certainly there are private sector people who are going to want to use it. So I don't know if you want to comment on where that is, or that's a fair...
No, it's fair assessment. Legislator Bergdorf and I had a conversation, actually I think it was on Friday, moving on Wednesday, with the holiday, things got a little jarbled. We just didn't get a chance to connect at the beginning of this week. The moral of the story is that the waiver provision and the development of those regulations is in process in law. Law is where the actual language of those regulations is finalized, and that's really all I have right now. We had meant to have a conversation earlier in the week that just didn't happen, just complicated by the holiday. I anticipate we can have that conversation very soon, but I don't have
But
anything beyond that.
what, let me finish, and then yeah. And the only thing I would say is, any business, any not-for-profit, for a law that's going into effect on March 27th has to do planning, okay? So if you're Perry from the City Mission, and I don't mean to go off these congregate meals, because they don't have the law does not affect the City Mission because they're not under contract with us. But these waiver provisions, if you're serving 250,000 meals a year, you have to know what you can use, not use, or whether or not you can get a waiver before March 27th. Who knows how long it's going to take to do the waiver, so I'm hopeful that the county executive's office will expedite the waiver provisions.
So I do know this, that when I spoke to the county attorney, everything was on schedule to be well in advance of, I believe it was March
27th.
March, so, because you're gonna need an educational outreach type thing so we're on track for that, but yes.
Okay, so, but that's the private sector piece, which none of this refers to. What this says is, for people who we changed their terms and conditions, give them a shot to either give them a shot to recoup that money, because they've got no place else to go for it. It's not like senior projects of Ravina, if their packaging costs go up $15,000, they can just, where's that money going to come from? It's going to come from the food, it's going to come from less people delivering, it's going to ultimately hurt seniors in a frail community. Same thing with Peter Young Industries, and the same thing with Senior Services of Albany. So that's the sort of the long and the short of this. I will tell you, you asked why it didn't come out of law. There are a couple people on law whose attitude is, it doesn't cost any money to conform with styrofoam.
Well, I think that was discussed. I mean, first off, we talked about this last August, and it had been discussed month after month after month, and I know City Mission and all of these three folks were all aware that this had been discussed prior to last August, passed in September. You know, so I'm hoping they did some preparation for 2019, right? And,
Well, these people couldn't have because they have contracts with values that go back to 2016, and the contracts say that the unit prices cannot change.
When's the contract end?
It gets renewed every year. It was just renewed in February.
So we're good for another year then?
Yeah, so what I'm saying is for the term of this contract, if they come in and say, I got $5,000 increase in cost, I got $7,000 increase in cost, I got 50, one of these programs, it's,
February's not here yet, so they're up from this February. This February, they're up for renewal, right? The contracts?
For the new.
no, they're through,
Sean's next, Gary, I'll get to you.
yeah, no, go ahead.
Yeah, okay, I just want to make sure that this, Sean, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to ask, there's more than 3 contracts, isn't there? for
Yeah,
these?
these are just the home delivered meals.
Okay.
I didn't, Mr. McLaughlin got us these contracts, he got us the ones for the home delivered meals, because those were the ones that were really the big numbers. Some of the congregate meals, I know there are congregate meals that happen at the Beltrone Center, there's some that happen at Father Young, there,
Yes,
we
but
talk
the
about-
congregate meals, I'll take Ohio Shalom, which I know. They come in from someplace else, so they're already packaged in the same, as if it's a Meals on Wheels type thing.
well,
Just
I
because
don't
it's a
know what,
kind of-
Not all.
I don't-
Well, ours is.
Yeah, not all.
Not all of them, because some of them do the cooking there. Now, ours, they don't.
look, I have no ulterior motive here other than to say, if there are not-for-profits who are losing money or having to expend new money as a result of this, let them plead their case.
Yeah, and don't forget, I mean, we're talking cost. You're just talking apples and apples as far as unit cost. When we had this whole debate for months about polystyrene, there's all sorts of other costs that come into play too. People talk about cost to the environment, cost to public health, and that's probably one of the reasons why it's here. I know we don't want to debate it here, but this also shows me that we also put, what, 115,000 polystyrene containers into the Albany County landfill? Is that what I'm looking at here? Or?
No, I don't know where this stuff goes. I don't even know that they all have
Well,
polystyrene.
I'm just doing your hot meals and frozen meals served in 2018. Anyways, my point is this, I'd like to find out from the law committee exactly why they tabled it, whether or not there's an issue with the resolution being introduced. I mean, they should have been hammered out while we discussed the local law, correct?
Well, no, because really the local law did not focus on implementation. It focused on the concept of banning. There was supposed to be an exemption. It's, as sincere as the county executive's office is putting it in place, I know a number of businesses in Colony, and that's where these numbers come from. Business A and Business B are both Colony businesses. This is going to be the cost to them for going to polystyrene, or going away from styrofoam. And Business C is from the southern part of the county. So, I mean, there are real costs. For anyone to say there are no costs, that's just not accurate.
Wanda, did you have a question?
Yes. What I would like to know is, when the contracts are up, okay?
Okay.
I would like to have a little bit more further discussion on this, because I think it does have some merits when it comes to these people that we do business with, okay? However, I would like to know when the contract is up. If it's up, at the end of December of this year, okay? I would also like to know if these are set prices by the county, all right?
They are. I have that documentation right here.
Okay. And-
Yeah, they're according to each one that comes in, we accept that bid, but then they're locked into that for the entirety of the contract.
So this is set for the contract.
Yeah.
So in other words, this unit price could change
Not until we
No,
go, not until we RFP out again and get a new contract.
Okay.
But it could for that next one, yes.
Yes, okay. So since this is done on an annual basis, okay, so there's a 2019 contract that,
So let's
just
say
trying
Bergdorf
to
will be able to
understand.
tell you, I don't remember how long these contracts are, but it's for a period and then it has several options for renewal, so.
This all goes back to the original contract. It's the same original contract that was renewed in
Right,
2016,
and it's for a certain period
17,
of time, then when you get to the end of
18.
that, then you have to re-RFP.
So
then you have
they
a
haven't
certain-
re-RFP'd. We're still bouncing along on the same unit price from before
My
2016.
question is this. One, is this unit price up for a change? Oh, it is not, period. Or can you tell me this? What can make it change?
A new
Us.
RFP.
Okay, so if the present RFP, the end date for that would be helpful to know when that is. That's one, okay? Two, if the next one can be changed, okay? To take in consideration for any bids that might come in so that people are building into their cost the new expense for whatever the new packaging costs are. So I would like answers to those two questions. One, when is the present RFP up? And two, for the new RFP, if the unit price is up for the ability to be changed. Okay, and then that way, if that is the case, then we can address any new bids that come in from the businesses. And maybe that would solve part of what Paul is talking about.
Mike, we got 3 organizations here. We know about Capital Rescue. How many, do we have a rough idea how many organizations? I mean, this could have serious budget implications, obviously.
Capital Rescue gets no government
That's
money.
right.
They don't
That's
have
right.
any
Yeah, we have
contracts.
no we have no financial relationship of any kind with capital.
Do you know how many other organizations other than these 3 we have obligations to?
Related to Styrofoam
Yeah, well, oh, yeah.
or related
Company
to?
Meals and Meals on Wheels.
Oh, I don't know off the top of my head, but I can find that out very easily.
I saw it.
Well, but it's more than
I
that.
I don't know how many options for renewal, that would be in the RFP. Each contract is yearly, so.
Well, I want to give you another nuance here, and I don't mean to make this more complicated.
In terms of re-RFPing, that's like no small task, especially for something you're gonna get as this. So typically, the departments have them on a normal cycle or normal schedule, so I'll have to check with aging as to where they are on that schedule.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Why
Gary?
don't you make a
The easiest way
motion to
to
table it,
interim
and you and I
solve this
will work
problem
together over the next month?
is just to give them waivers. So I'll just give them waivers on all those non-for-profits that, before the contracts are up. And it's no big deal.
Well, the last provision in here was everybody got an automatic waiver until they made their case to the county attorney's office. That was the last provision in here.
Well, until the new bid comes out.
And then it still
These are all
requires,
unforeseen expenses that we're
legislative
putting on. It's almost like
approval.
an unfunded mandate we're putting on them. And they can't recoup their money like the businesses.
Well, that's what I'm saying. This is
Just
the,
all those businesses up in Colony put a surcharge.
these are
on
the
their takeout.
these are the little guys.
These guys here, we should find a way to run a waiver. It's the easiest way to do it.
Lynn, did you have a question?
I had a question. I want to know, in addition to what everybody has been saying here, are we allowed to change the game in the middle of a contract? I'm guessing not. We have a contract, they have a contract with us, we have to live up to our half. We said it was okay that they do it the way they're gonna do it. We have to accept that until the time is up unless they fail or break the contract in some other way. So it seems to me like, the legal question is, are we allowed to ask them to use different materials in the middle of the contract? And you're probably gonna find out, I think, probably not.
Well, we did. We did.
That's what I'm saying. I'm thinking that they have to be having an automatic, we have to stick with that contract until the next time we do RFPs in the future, and we'll qualify with them by saying that there's not gonna be any styrofoam in them.
So, all right, so that's one of the reasons why I asked why this was tabled in law, because it's not only that, but it's also whether or not we can just introduce a resolution to change a local law.
So are you looking to table this, Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
I'm
I'd like
gonna
to
ask,
make a
we're
motion
gonna
to table.
discuss it, just, Lon, did you have a question, or?
No, I'd like to make a motion to table.
Well, I don't, before we get a motion, I mean, can we get more information, Paul? I mean, would you be okay?
I would be very comfortable accepting Wanda's motion for the committee to table it. And in the next month, I would work with Wanda to see if we can answer every question and bring a legitimate package that the two of us feel good about, because
Well, we have a whole committee here.
I know, but everybody's got to feel good about it. But I think I got a sense here that people would like to do the right thing if there's a way to do this. And I think I made a mistake by not reaching out to the aging chair before I did
Well,
this.
I understand
and
why
I
you want to
apologize
accept
for that.
Wanda's motion, but it's also, in the event that this takes more than, 2 months, because I know what you're driving here, I'd like to have you actually request it.
Well, I don't want to request it because I'll tell you why. As long as this is out there, I don't want to say it encourages the county executive to get the waiver process out there. I'm not going to be unrealistic, and I'm not going to push for something that I think that someone is going to either vote against or veto. I would like to have an opportunity to bring a consensus back to you next month that I would work out with Wanda.
All right, well,
But if in the event we find out that the county attorney weighs in, for instance, that we can't hold them to not using styrofoam.
but even if the county attorney weighs in, it still has to go to the legislature for approval, correct?
Absolutely. That's why we have 4 different bites at the apple, and just
Okay, I got you.
Can I ask one more thing?
Okay, so we have an open motion by Wanda, but Lynn has one more question, then we'll look for a second.
I just have this concern with this one word in here, this automatic word. Like, I think if Father Young should figure out how he can do it without styrofoam, he shouldn't get an automatic waiver. And if he can figure out how he can recover his own, like,
well,
automatic just
that's a
seems like
legitimate
automatic.
concern. That's a
So
legitimate
let's throw that
concern.
out there. That's the word.
Okay, so we have a motion by Wanda, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Todd, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you
We got a
very
motion
much.
to adjourn?
Thank you for the dialogue.
Todd,
I think
second by Lynn, all in favor?
Very helpful.
Aye.